Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I'm Mike, he's Jay, and we're going to do our top 10 superhero movies of the 2000s. Because we all know that top 10 superhero movie lists, if they do anything at all, they get you laid.
No shit. If you go to a B-dubs and tell girls about that, you're getting some.
And they're going to order you chicken wings.
Hot ones.
Fucking chicken. Number 10 on my list, because I'm going to start first.
Alright.
No reason why.
I know. But you said it so vague that you're like...
I'm ready. Number 10 on my list is going to be The Dark Knight Rises. Controversial.
Wow.
Controversial. I know a lot of people were disappointed. I think everybody even had to be a little bit disappointed with that movie. Because after The Dark Knight, the trailers that came out, the fucking bat plane and shit, all the crazy shit that was happening, you think the music is going to be so epic, my face is going to melt off. And it's unrealistic expectations. I still think it was a great movie. It did have its flaws. It did. They did a lot of shit right with it, and it was still an amazing movie to cap that off.
Well, I don't think anybody can hold against you about picking it. I mean, it does fit in with the whole Nolan trilogy, and the fact that what they did was they took Bane, they made him realistic, they grounded him in reality. Yeah. They didn't put the Venom shit on him, making him a big giant guy running around, and they also gave him the street smarts, which everybody was loving because you know what they did with Batman and Robin, they made him. Burn.
If there were certain things I could go back and change about that movie, and be like, I want more Batman.
That's
in it.
exactly.
I would have done that if I could have gone back to the ending and taken out that. You should go by your real name, Robin. That seemed forced a little bit, but I do wish that they would have went further into the Dark Knight Returns storyline, where you know he was broken down and shit like that. I love that, and it seemed like, and the fight scene with Bane, where Batman just gets ruined. I mean, you hate to see you want to see Batman win, but I could watch that all day.
All day long.
All day.
So my number 10 would be V for Vendetta. Love that movie. I don't know, when I first saw that movie, it was the first movie I ever saw, I was like, how is this real? I was like, I saw it and I was like, he gets on a train and he wants to blow up London. I was like, he's a terrorist, but at the same time he's pretty badass. And they had the guy that did the voice for Mr. Smith in The Matrix, and I was like, I thought that guy was fucking awesome. I don't know, that movie all of itself, it was just a really dark, gritty ass movie that was a superhero, but it had that, it was like it could happen. Like this guy could really exist. It's not like Batman. I mean, obviously somebody could just make a costume and shit and be like a Batman-esque kind of guy, but probably get shot. This guy could probably really exist, but then again, I feel kind of bad because I'm rooting for it.
My number 9 is going to be Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man. Now, this movie, it's got its issues. Like, everybody knows that the Green Goblin looked like, a Green Power Ranger. I still liked it, though. It was that fun, comic booky feel movie. And before that movie came out, I was like, how are they going to do this? It's Spider-Man, spandex, how are you going to make that work? And it's Sam Raimi, and he brought his charm to it and just knocked it out of the park. And I mean, it's the Spider-Man movie.
Man of Steel is my number 9.
Whoa, that's low.
Well, I have so many. I had to fit them in. Number 9, Man of Steel. I mean, I know people hate on it, and I still don't get that. Like, there's people literally so obsessed with fucking hating this movie, they'll go to IMDb and vote it down just to vote it down. I mean, stop your flappy twats. It's a good movie. It really is. It's a badass movie. They brought Superman to the 21st century. Henry Cavill, great acting, all of it. That they re-envisioned it to make it make sense for the 21st century. And it was literally like Zack Snyder was like, slapped his dick on the table, like, do something.
Well, dude, I agree with you completely. And all I can think about right now is a woman waking up and be like, oh shit, my twat's flappy today. Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
what does it mean? Does it flap in the wind? Is there a fan nearby?
No, their twats are so fucking loose because they're so angry. But they're so fucking mad. Their twats would. That's what happened.
I don't want to see.
It's so nasty. They had to put a zipper on it.
Flappy twats. Serious business. Cunts. I agree with you completely. I think the fucking fight scenes in that were epic. They were superhero scale like nothing you've ever seen before.
What's the number one thing that people complain about? There's no emotion. It's just an emotional.
You kidding me? Kevin Costner. When that guy farts, there's emotion in it.
I know. He's like, I farted. And the sun shines in the daylight. They're like, oh, one of those things. Is like, it's like they don't even. It's like people that piss on it all the time. They're like. They can't even come up with an idea why they don't like it. It's just because everybody else liked it. They're like, I'm not gonna like it because you like it. He's like, and fucking Zod has a goatee.
Well, Superman doesn't kill anybody. It's a fucking movie. They changed shit.
Zod would shave his face.
And I mean, we won't go into the whole Superman killed him argument, but the emotion in that when he screamed and shit like that, like you can tell he didn't want to, he had to because he had to save the family. There was a good reason for it, and I think that people who don't like it genuinely don't like it. I think there's just a certain group of people who wanted something else. If they wanted Christopher Reeve, I don't know what they wanted. Maybe they didn't like the timeline the way they did that. But I thought Henry Cavill was great. He seems like he just is Superman. The fight scenes were the coolest shit I've ever seen, and there people are complaining, oh, it's like an hour of fighting. It's a Superman movie.
Well, I know everybody was like, got mad. I remember at the end when he was fighting him in the Metropolis, he goes, Superman would never do that. He would go away and take Zod with him. It's like, it's Superman.
What about Doomsday?
Well, yeah.
They always tear apart Metropolis.
But the thing is Superman... It's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not real life, but even if you want to put it like that, he was still new. I mean, he didn't know everything yet. I mean, he was still learning his power, so give it a goddamn rest.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, and that one's on my list too, but we'll get to that later because it's not my time to shine. It's yours.
Okay.
Number 8 is going to be The Watchmen.
I like it.
Now, this movie was really hard for me because I just read the comic, the graphic novel,
it's
like
amazing.
a week before I saw the movie, and the movie stays so fucking true to that comic book.
I know.
It's like I know what's coming next. I'm almost bored. I'm not because just another Zack Snyder movie. It just looks so damn good. That movie looks amazing, and it just like I could not picture a better way to bring that comic book to life. It was sexy. It was nasty. It was dirty. It was fun. It was superhero-ish. It had all this crazy shit in it, and just what an amazing movie to watch. It blows your mind to watch.
That was one of those movies also I saw, like V for Vendetta, and you're like, this is fucking amazing, like how they did with the they put that 80s retro feel to it because it was all taking place in an alternate reality, and it was just like, oh my god, I can't believe that guy has a Smurf dick and he's running around naked, but he's badass and he can do things.
They did it.
Dr. Manhattan, fucking do it! Oh yeah, spit
I
that
have
dick.
a chest cold.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. And I'm like, oh my god, calm down. My number 8 would be Batman Begins. I didn't want to overload it with a lot of DC and Batman, because everybody's going to pick the Nolan list, but I really did love Batman Begins, and what they did after Batman and Robin, I had no idea how they were going to fix it.
God.
That was one of the biggest things going in when I heard about Batman Begins, but when I saw the trailer for it, I didn't even know it was a superhero movie. Like, you see those guys in the warehouse place or the loading docks, and then they're like, where are you? And you're like, here. I was like, is this a superhero movie or is this a horror movie? And then you see Batman, and it says Batman Begins with all of it. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
They finally reinvented Batman and made him badass again, and they brought back they gave him back his dick, and they said, no more nipples on the bat suit. Mm-hmm. You have your wiener back and go fight crime. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
They retold that story so well.
I know.
The way they tied Ra's al Ghul into it, the way they had him training in the mountain. It starts with Falcone at the bottom, and he's rising up, and that whole way they just retold that story. They made it realistic. It changed things.
Well, see, the thing is,
it really did.
It set the groundwork. I mean, a lot of people were like, Batman Begins was a good movie. It wasn't like an amazing movie, but the reason why I'm putting it on the list is because it set the groundwork for what Nolan did later on, and that was what helped DC get back into it. Because they really let it go at Batman. Robin's like some fat girl was like really hot back in the day in '89, and she just said, I'm just gonna eat Twinkies and donuts all day long, and then she was big and fat and nasty by Batman and Robin. Then she worked out and got with the program.
Yeah, and you were pissed off that you didn't lay that down. Like I should have.
The Hammer of Wrath.
I remember seeing that trailer.
I know.
It's like Batman was just dormant. Nobody cared anymore. Everybody thought they ruined it, and then you see Batman Begins come up.
Well,
that looks like a real movie. It's an actual movie. It's not a bullshit Joel Schumacher jacking off in the mirror.
That was the first time that they actually said, we're going to take it seriously now.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to talk about my number 7 because my number 7 is Batman Begins.
Sweet. Okay, so we moved on. My number 7 is X-Men 2.
Mm.
So X-Men.
Isotoners.
The glove fits. I loved X-Men. I mean, obviously, there's an argument that X-Men should be on that list because of, it was the first time they brought all these superheroes together. But X-Men 2 really cinematically brought the X-Men together, and it actually went more deeper into their relationships together, and Jean Grey and Cyclops and Wolverine, how that had together, and you had all this drama going on, which X-Men 1 it had that sort of drama, but not as much as X-Men 2
They had to
did.
Take so much time opening things up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I always like to have the superhero movies that have like that emotional anchor that gets you involved in it. It's not just a bunch of special effects and superhero stuff going on. There's also like an emotional stuff that you can attach to it, and that's what I liked about X-Men 2. And then they further improved on it with movies like Wolverine and things like that, the Wolverine.
Yeah.
But this movie, to me, they have all the characters together. There's a lot of interpersonal relationships going on, and I fucking appreciate the shit out of it.
For me, it's the best of the original trilogy because with the X-Men that first came out, like I think all the movies are like kind of intertwined together in a weird way, and that's a good thing. But when you watch the first movie, at first you're so taken back by like the uniforms and stuff like that, the little things that are wrong with it. And the second one, all the same stuff's wrong with it, but they've settled into it, and there's more story to it, and I think that edges it out over the first one.
Well, the only problem I guess the only problem I had with it was maybe. They did focus a lot on Wolverine. I mean, that was one thing I wish, but they did do really well with like talking about how Nightcrawler fit into it. And they explained, like I said, the relationships between, like I said, Cyclops and all them. So I mean, overall, it was more of a cinematic experience to see that on X-Men 2, and that's why I loved it.
Number 6 is going to be X-Men First Class, another
Nice.
X-Men movie. I watched this again yesterday, and I'm blown away by this fucking movie. When you've got James McAvoy as Professor X, you got Michael Fassbender as young Magneto, Kevin Bacon as the catalyst for what happens to Magneto, the way they told that story, the music in that movie, every time Magneto's on screen, it's just badass music. Michael Fassbender makes that fucking movie work with his anger, and there's such departures. You look at old man fucking Magneto, which I mean I love, but Ian McKellen, and then you look at Professor Xavier and everything's so serious. When you go back to the younger days, it's so cool to see how fucking just angry Michael Fassbender is, and he's kind of a good guy to you because of all the bad shit that happened to him. And to see him be badass and be rooting for him is awesome. And then you've got James McAvoy, who's like this party animal. I mean, it's Professor X. Yeah. You see him bonging beers and shit like that.
I would do it too.
And he's a ladies' man. I fucking
with
love
your psychic powers,
walking around erect.
Fassbender, the thing about Magneto and how they did with Fassbender is like they actually made that character that evil villain that you know as Magneto, like you could relate to him. You could understand finally, you know, you can kind of get what Magneto, you know, what he went through in the World War II, and you can kind of understand why he's angry. But in this one, they really showed, you know, why he was so fucked up. My number 6 would be the Wolverine.
The Wolverine.
That movie finally got Hugh Jackman to the point where everybody wanted it. He finally cut loose. He finally cut that fart out and said, "Let's fucking do it. Let's dance!" Like Footloose. But he really did, man. I mean, that when we went and seen that in theaters, I didn't know what to expect. And when I first saw it, like when he had like just the unrelenting animal side to him and just going off and going crazy. People like everything about how they portrayed Wolverine in that movie is Wolverine, like from the comic books. And like they just said, all right, we're just gonna let loose here and let him go crazy. And then you know the whole thing with the adamantium claws getting broken and the bone claws coming back.
Cool
Dude,
story.
That whole thing was happening. Now, were you gonna? I thought you were gonna say cool story, bro.
One thing, what I don't like about the movie is A, it can get boring at times. B, the Silver Samurai got fucked up. We know that happened. And C, I wish to God they would have just let him make it fucking R-rated, hardcore, balls to the wall. Wolverine. That's the only thing. Wolverine. He had the right attitude. He was dark and he was brooding and he had all this shit going on. And it was the best Wolverine we've seen on screen. But still, you're missing that that hardcore just fucking.
Well, I think they got as close to as they could without going over. And that's the thing. That's the one of the shit. I mean, it's one thing if it was owned by Disney, Marvel, because then that would make sense why they don't push it to rated R. But it's owned by 20th Century.
Why not go all the way with it?
But maybe it's because they still want that kid stuff and they don't want to go so far into their parents are going to be like, oh well, we can't take our kid.
And
to
then that
that
after credit scene time.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Amazing. I agree with you. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
And my number 5, we've already talked about it. It's Man of Steel. We've already talked about it.
Yeah, well, okay, my number 5, we've already talked about it too, so we'll move on there. Watchmen was my number 5.
Suck our dicks if you don't like it.
What?
My number 4 is going to be Spider-Man 2. We already talked about Spider-Man a little bit. This is the best Spider-Man movie that's ever happened in my opinion.
Ever.
And clearly one of the best superhero movies ever.
Keep saying it.
Yeah, but so we just reviewed this movie. I mean, it's amazing. Doc Ock is a badass in this movie. It's amazing. It's spectacular. It's superior.
It's sensational.
But yeah, no, this movie it's got it all. It's got some fucking awesome. You get to see the scene where Spider-Man's got to have his mask ripped off and the city sees him and he's stopping the train. All the good shit from the first one just revamped and upped a little bit. And it's one of the few movies where the sequel's better than the original.
They focused on Peter Parker and Spider-Man, his how he struggles in his daily life and how he has to balance that with being Spider-Man. And it had great villains. It had scary little scenes in it sometimes. Music was awesome. It had that real superhero, I can come from behind and do things.
Yeah, I know.
Not like that. My number 4 is Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
So that was one of the first, but that was really one of those movies that I saw when John Favreau, they announced Iron Man. I mean, I knew Iron Man, I've been reading comic books and stuff, but I just didn't know if he was going to be the character that was going to, you know, take Marvel and sail to be the boat to get them to a bitch. Yeah, sail. Hey, while you're jumping from one to the next, I'm not gonna. That's like a wrestler. Mean Gene. I never would have thought that Iron Man would have been the character to carry Marvel, to be their flag carrier into like the Avengers and stuff like that. But when they cast Robert Downey Jr., I liked Robert Downey back then. You know, I knew who he was from earlier movies, but I was like, I don't know. And then I saw the trailer for it, and you know when he's hitting the door, and then that the Iron Man music comes on. I'm like, this is gonna be fucking. Everything about that movie, it really had the comic book feel. It had the seriousness to it that you needed. It had the comedy aspects to it, and freaking Robert Downey Jr. They could not have picked a better actor to portray Tony Stark.
No.
Period.
No, I mean, he is fucking Tony Stark, and I dread the day when they gotta switch him up. But I agree with you completely on that movie.
They're gonna pick James McAvoy.
That's one of my favorites. It's on my list somewhere. But yeah, dude, that movie just. I mean, it's Robert Downey Jr. is just as entertaining as Tony Stark as he is Iron Man. Maybe even more entertaining to watch when he's tooling around in his lab, when he's messing with Pepper, he's sleeping with women. He's just a fucking badass character that you. I mean. As far as superheroes and their original outfits go, like not their original outfits, not what they're wearing. I like their first stage show, but no, when they're in their own personas, Tony Stark is by far my favorite. And they touched on it a little bit. I always wish they would have went a little bit more into his alcoholism. But
they will. I think they'll do that later.
But yeah, they showed that a little bit, and just like I said, him as Tony Stark, not even as Iron Man, is the best portrayal of a superhero out of their costume, I think, of all. And I fucking love that movie.
Well, I think that it was cool. Like Robert Downey Jr. was obviously he was a vain asshole. Like he really was a vain asshole, but he did it so well. Like you're like he's my kind of asshole.
Yeah.
But it's not just one of those things. It's also like when he actually realizes like you know he made the suit and he can do great things with it and good things with it, and he goes to like that freaking like Middle Eastern country and sets those people free. Yeah. Because you can actually see the turmoil inside him. He's like, even though I'm an asshole, I'm a good asshole, and I'm going to do things good for other people.
My number 3, it's a huge difference from Jay's. You're not going to believe this. I mean, we usually agree on stuff.
I don't believe it.
My opinion is just way different than yours on this. It's Iron Man.
My number 3 is, oh my god, well I guess we're in the same boat, Spider-Man 2. So.
Spider-Man 2, it was a little bit higher.
Well, because it's one of those, it really is one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen in my life.
Go on. Get high, baby. Get high, baby. Get high, baby! Number 2. Number 2.
Peace in Israel.
It's The Dark Knight.
There you go. I like it.
It's got to be up there, and I'm feeling that where we're going with this list.
Yeah,
we're not going to disagree with it. It's both of our number 2, so we'll just go ahead and say it. Fuck it. My number 2, The Dark Knight. It's got. When I saw this movie, I was so blown away. I almost didn't even like it because it was just so fucking amazing.
It's
The Godfather.
Yeah. Okay.
I was. No,
better right now.
No, it's the Godfather of comic book movies,
Definitely.
and I say that not like it's the greatest of all time, although it's close. I'm just saying that as it's got a fucking crime feel to it. It's got a serious movie feel to it, and it's a cinematic experience. The scene where the Joker's got his head out of the car and that weird like.
Yeah.
And he's just looking around. It's fucking scary. And Heath Ledger, one of the greatest performances in acting of all time. It's the things that make me hate the Oscars. That this movie wasn't really considered. I mean, it may have been nominated, but it didn't really have a chance to win Best Picture. They just overlooked it and shit like that. But that's how great this movie was. It had little flaws. I didn't love Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face, but it wasn't bad by any means. And the Joker just, I mean, he could have carried that movie by his.
Yeah,
the Joker,
he's like you said by his cat.
The Joker could have carried that movie by his fucking self. The only other thing, Christian Bale's voice, maybe a little bit too much as usual.
Yeah.
But just the way they made everything so serious and so good. I don't know how else to say it other than this movie is the Godfather of comic book movies.
You know what? I love that analogy because it really is. And the thing is, I also liked it because it did mix a lot of the comic book stuff like you expect with Batman in it. Because you got Batman, you got the Joker, you got that over the top comic book stuff feel to it. But you also got like a Seven feel. Like you know when you watch Seven for the first time, you're like, this is fucking crazy and insane. And then mix that together perfectly. It blended so well together. I didn't mind Aaron Eckhart necessarily. I mean, they only gave Two-Face a little bit of time, and I wish they'd given because Two-Face is a big part of that universe. But I mean, that's still fine. But the Joker, that's one of the few movies that you can actually say the villain outshines the friggin' hero. And they gave. I mean, it wasn't even the fact that they gave him the better lines. It was just that Heath Ledger so embodied the Joker and everything about the Joker that it was one of those things like you could not wait to get Joker back on screen. It's like I'm gonna show you a magic trick, okay?
Oh, I know that we have the same number 1. So number 1 movie. Before you say it, let's do our honorable mentions real quick.
Okay.
Got what do you got?
The Punisher.
The Punisher, Judge Dredd.
Dredd.
Oh yeah. Not Sylvester Stallone's.
Even though I did like that as a corny.
But it almost didn't fit. I mean, when I'm thinking of superhero like Kate flying around fucking superpowers.
Punisher.
Yeah, I know, but both of them, and maybe that's why they didn't make those lists. The Punisher, Thomas Jane, and it's got amazing scenes in it. Thomas Jane was my favorite by far.
Yeah,
I think he'd be a great Punisher, but it was too PG to be Punisher.
Well, people hate on him because he's like, oh, he's too short. I was like, well, he had to be like 9 feet tall. Yeah, he's a Punisher.
And it's not his fault. The fault in the movie was clearly that fucking
John Travolta
mailed it the fuck in.
He did. I don't know. Wait, what was he doing?
He was busy giving boatmen a massage.
What was he? Yeah, he did. He did that a lot.
I heard about that.
And, you know, what was wrong with his hair? I guess that was after his massage. He's like, I'm gonna grow this fast so he'll like me. And he also had that little strip, that little dirty strip on his fucking. He's like. Because my son's
Green Lantern, I didn't think that movie was as bad as everybody said it was. I thought Ryan Reynolds was good. I thought the movie was good. I thought the bad guy was good. I thought the special effects were good. Everything except for that fucking suit ruined everything.
I hate the costume.
The suit was fucking terrible. It was atrocious. And I swear to God, if they would have changed just the suit alone, that movie would be considered a mild success.
Well, I think some people were like saying that it was just too like weird and over the top, and they didn't really explain the story that well. I thought that I could understand. I didn't even read Green Lantern comic books, and I understood.
Maybe I mean you got to tell the cosmic shit, you know, the training stuff. But I think when they did do that, it was too much CGI and it was just too much weirdness and like kind of kiddish. I think maybe.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds played it more like Kyle Rayner instead of Hal Jordan. So I mean, I guess, but I still Ryan Reynolds was still great.
I love Ryan Reynolds in that movie. Unbreakable, not a superhero movie by the sense, but
that has to be.
Either you love or you hate that movie. Yeah, badass. I just thought that was a badass.
They called me Mr. Glass. Mr. Glass.
I'm gonna take a shit in the comic book store and fall down.
I like how he was fucking banging into the comic books. Like, you gotta get out. I was like,
you got the originals. You got Captain America, Thor. Good movies, great movies. Just didn't make the top 10. Still awesome. Thor was closer. I like
Thor. I'm just like you. Thor almost made it because Thor had all that like elements to it that really was pure like awesomeness.
I couldn't put that in the list.
The music was one of the things I loved the most about it.
I just love the special effects and the comedy, just the whole movie. I loved it. But yeah, so that's our honorable mentions. So that brings us to our number 1. We both know. I haven't even seen your list, and I fucking know because it's got to be on there.
What do you think it is, Planeteers? Avengers Assemble!
Yeah, it's the Avengers. This movie, I know it may not have the seriousness or the darkness or whatever you want to put it, like serious movie scale of like The Dark Knight or whatever. And I know people get some hate for it, but this movie was fucking Star Wars superheroes.
It really was.
It was a fucking fantasy dreamland to sit back in the theater and see this fucking happen on screen. All these people on screen together. It fucking works great. The Hulk smashing Loki, the fucking them working together in the middle of downtown and the big fight scene. That just like my mouth was on the fucking floor.
Dude, that was like unicorns were bouncing in my head when I first saw that. I was like, oh my god, things are happening in my head. It was like, it's so good. I want to freeze it and then we can skate on it and then in the summer we can melt it and drink it. It feels so good. That was the first time that I ever saw a movie like that. That is like the purest translation of comic movie that you could ever want, and it's done well, and it's done in a good way that's not like making you feel stupid for cheering for it.
And they did all.
And you cheered for it. Like, it was like, I've never in my life, never ever sat in a theater and like, yeah, yeah.
That's how you felt. Even if you weren't doing it on the outside, you felt that way on the inside.
And then me and Mike, like at the end of the movie, we like, Jonah was like, 10.
It's a fucking 10. That's what it was, dude. Just watching them work together, watching all this shit, and they did all this with the lack of a well-known. I mean, you got Loki. I know there's Loki, but when you hear that, you're thinking, I mean, Thor defeated him by himself technically, and Loki was amazing in that role, and he carried it. But then the space thing, the aliens from outer space, and stuff like it's not even like a signature villain. They did all this. They managed to focus it on the superheroes. You've got Thor fucking fighting Iron Man at one point. You've got the Hulk beating up people, and they made for this one single movie with all these other superheroes you got to focus on. They managed to make by far the greatest Hulk ever.
Do you know the coolest thing about it is, you know that feeling that you get when you watch the end of Rudy and he finally gets things to happen for him and his dreams come true? That's how you felt. You're like, I can't believe things have happened right now.
I felt like a fucking 3-year-old watching a light show.
It's like me and you were like,
in the middle of Las Vegas.
It was like you wanted to hug the first person. Like, have you seen this movie?
I know, dude.
Go tell it on the mountain.
It just felt so good and
that
pure
was,
and
that was
awesome.
And I had never even heard of Joss Whedon. And I know he had done other things. He'd done Firefly. I'd watched some of the Firefly.
You didn't watch Buffy? You didn't watch?
I watched the original.
You didn't watch Buffy?
I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie back in the day, but I didn't really hear Joss Whedon except in little in circles. I've heard about Firefly and stuff like that. But when he that was so like, imagine that as a director, you've got to take these iconic Marvel superheroes, put them on screen together, give them the right amount of time that they need, and sew it all together to where it makes sense to everybody, and then say, here you go. And that's what Joss Whedon did.
They made that movie.
Joss Whedon was one of the guys. I know he walked in that room and he was like, my name's Joss Whedon. I'm going to make you a lot of money. Like, I don't believe. He's like, wait.
No, dude, he made that movie a fucking event. Right. That movie's not a movie by any means. It's too fucking much to consider a movie. You know what, it's an event.
Well, the coolest thing about Joss Whedon is you can tell he cared. Like, he cared enough about the characters. He cared enough about the Marvel Universe. He cared about the comic books and bringing it to life, that you can see that the hand of touch and artistry that he put in the movie. Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, The Avengers is really one of those movies that it comes around once every 10 years, and you're sitting there and you're gonna see this movie. And you're like, I'm so glad that I was alive to be able to go see this movie in theaters and tell my children about it one day.
They took the impossible and they nailed it, fucking Tom Cruise style.
Rudy.
And not just that, the fucking score to it was amazing too. Alan Silvestri did a great job with that score. It was epic as
I think that was our very first. That was our very first 10.
That was our first 10 that we've ever done, and it remains this way today.
It never changed.
So that is our top 10 list. Comment below. Let us know. Are we fucking crazy? Are we insane in the membrane? Insane in the brain? Are we fucking
nuts?
No
game.
What would you guys have had on the list? What did we not even mention? Comment below. Let us know. Tell us what your number one would have been. Rip us apart.
What if I was like Blade Trinity?
I mean, you could give it to Blade Trinity just for Ryan Reynolds' abs. I mean, well, I guess. I wasn't.
Things are strange at the Circle K.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah,
I just had some garlic and I farted.
Till next time, guys. I'm Mike. He's Jay. We'll see you next time.
We watched a movie.